Perfect. I appreciate everybody sticking around. Those of you who were in my last panel, you know that we ended on the topic of technology, so it seems pretty apropos that we would start and pretty much only focus on technology. Technology, we all know what that means. It means AI for the most part. I'd like to welcome our panel. I'll go ahead and let you all introduce yourselves. I think we have a really excellent, diverse group of voices again here. So why don't we start with you, Catie?
Hi, everyone. My name is Catie Stefano, and I'm the Director of Community Marketing at onlinegamblers.com. We're a very small affiliation. We're basically a two-man team. So we use technology a lot for our little affiliation.
I am the former CEO of Catena Media. I left last week. While there, we were working on a JV we established for AI in the content space.
Hi, my name's Kunal Mishra. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Americas for Bragg Gaming Group. I came when my startup Spin Games was acquired by Bragg Gaming a couple of years ago. We're in the technology space, the B2B space of iGaming.
Founder of humbl.ai. 2 years ago we had an idea, and now we're here with clients, trademarks, revenue. So good to be here.
It's always good to go from idea to revenue. So there are three main topics that I want to cover today, sort of umbrella topics. The three being personalization, responsibility, and regulation. So I want to start first with the fun part because that's what everybody's most interested in, and that's the personalization component. We know that personalization, whether you're an operator, you're an affiliate, whatever you might be, personalization in communications has been a focal point for a lot of us in order to sort of personalize both the actual interaction as well as the game experience. So the first question here, which is really open to everyone, we'll start with you, Catie, is how
Women first, right?
how personalization is going to be impacted by upcoming technologies, whether that's AI, AR, or some of the new technologies that are coming into play, and what the benefits or drawbacks might be in terms of hyper-personalization for the player and the operator.
Well, if I take it from an affiliation standpoint, I think that's where I can talk from experience. I think for us, AI has been super helpful in being a very small team. For example, when it comes to the way we can target players, before we can only maybe do like one article per day. Maybe if we had to write about each single US state, it would take us, more than 50 days for sure. Whereas now we can produce a lot more, a lot quicker. The same goes when it comes to sports. We can explain sports, educate players a lot more about what kind of sports there are out there, how it works, campaigns. In addition to news, we can stay on top on trends, make sure that the players who are interested in different topics get the topics very, very quickly with the help of AI. I think when we launched Online Gamblers 1.5 years ago, that was just when ChatGPT was released. We didn't really use it because we were a lot scared of how would Google, if they see that it was AI and stuff. And I think at that time, I would say it was acceptable to maybe write one article a day. Now, I did a test last week, and I could, from idea to implementation in WordPress, finish 9 articles in 8 hours, which is, of course, it needs quality assurance, it needs fact checking and a lot of that, but I could never have done that 1.5 years ago.
I'll add to that from both an affiliate side and having played in the supplier side of slot, online land-based, and table games to operator services. It's personalization is 360 some odd, whatever the number is now, million North Americans, US plus more. You can't have teams that can work that size and audience and personalize without technology. And we have data from this wide swath of people we're interacting with, whether it be on your website for affiliation, the operator, the vendors on who's playing a machine. How do you personalize that? That's what AI is about, is being able to take data in mass and turn it into individualization via content, via data analysis to say, this is what you like, let me serve this to you. Whether it be one person in a journalistic sense being able to serve 100 articles when they could normally serve 5 over a period of a day in order to say, I know you come to our site to read the thing that's closest to what you're interested in. Let us get closer to that. And the same thing is with slots. At some point you'll get where it's not under regulatory of today, but where I sit down and I choose what the reels will show based on, or it'll give me some guidance based on what I've played on before versus having to go and find the machine on the floor that I want to play that is like that thing I liked before.
Sure. No.
So, I've got a take on this from a technology perspective. I see some slot influencers in the audience over here. Probably, oops, the chair broke. But personalization could also mean a more narrower segmentation. It doesn't always need to be a one-on-one, right? So it can be a closer and closer segmentation. The game design process today is incredibly manual for slot providers today. And I've seen some of our game designers start to touch on using AI to generate characters of games. What this is doing is it's starting to decrease the cost of production for games. What's going to happen in there, it's going to allow us to get narrow and narrow into our segmentation of who the slot caters to, because you're no longer dealing with a game that costs a ton of money. It's a bespoke piece of art. It's a Rolls Royce. Now you can start scaling with AI helping build some of the symbols, building some of the themes of the games. You can scale it down and get more and more niched with games. So I think as far as personalization is concerned, it may not be one-to-one as yet. I agree with you, Mike, given the regulatory framework. But I think on a segmentation basis, we're going to get more and more hyper-segmented based on what the operators want, based on who they see even a narrower segment of their player profile is.
I think it's fascinating what Catie mentioning, right, with 9 articles in 8 hours. So I started my career in Catena Media, and back then we had 40, 50 people working in SEO for one market, 20, 30 working in content, one market. I think what we will see in the coming years, and it's going to take a bit longer than we expect, but when it happens, it's going to be like, wow, what just happened? The workforce and the workspace is going to change dramatically. People 1 year ago say, you can never replicate video content by AI, by models. Doesn't work. Then 1 month ago, boom, Sora releases. And you can actually not even see the difference between the puppy on the video made by the model and the puppy made in real life. Like, it's going really quick. I think it's going to take time for workforce to really, align to it. But when it happens, we're going to see some big changes in the future.
Well, and I think to both Alan's point and Sunal's point, I think that the one of the questions that I want to dive in on a little bit more closely is this idea of this hyper-personalization, this one-to-one. At what point do you, we know that players are, and not just players, but consumers as a whole, tend to feel that their privacy has been invaded when they were talking about shoes and then they get an ad for shoes. How did that happen? There are all sorts of different components at play, and I think the fact is when you come to a regulated market like online gaming, the question of hyper-personalization, one-to-one personalization you might hit that wall. It's sort of like that uncanny valley with AI figures that we used to have. So I'm curious to know what you think, and we'll start with you, Alan, about whether or not you think that one-to-one personalization is actually where the market should be going, or if you think that more just hyper-segmentation around clusters makes more sense using AI.
Like it's good to distinguish between AI, because AI has been around. If you used Netflix or Amazon ever and got shopping recommendations, that's AI, but that's machine learning, and that was like cool, but never cool enough to hit mainstream and everyone talking about it. What happened was, with generative AI, was just the next big thing that's happening, that you can actually mimic a real human user, real human behavior, right? And that was the magic moment. Like there are a few things. If you think past, like if you ever use Spotify, most people in the audience probably do today, but when it was released in Sweden, I went from Winamp, having songs on my computer to Spotify, everything is here, and that's like a magic moment. Same with OpenAI, ChatGPT. Holy shit, you ask them something about Excel, all right, the formula is there. You ask them about drafting a legal contract, the formula is there. It's not perfect, it's still not perfect, but it's getting better, right? And yeah, I think the pace of this development is just it's insane, and we're going to see that in the coming years as well.
Sure.
So I think the hyper-segmentation, or smaller and smaller segments, may be of more value. There's a couple of reasons behind it. What we see, at least, is when there's a hit game, you can go into some of the forums, right? Or you can see one of the slot influencers play the games, and people gravitate to that. They may like a particular game. And people, when they play that game, they don't want to see a different real symbol in there, right? They don't want to see, because they don't want these 7s changed to 8s, because that's not the game they saw their favorite slot influencer play, or that's not the game that their cousin or their brother or sister won a big jackpot on.
Sure.
But, and even when you look at it, right, I'm at the stage of my life now where my musical tastes are classic rock. So, when I get into Spotify and things like that, I don't want to see the words to a song by Chicago having changed. I want to listen to music in the genre of classic rock, but I don't want to necessarily see the words change based on the words I like and things like that. So I think, given a community aspect, especially around online gaming, the hyper-segmentation is the market that potentially has some upside to it.
So I'm going to go with the cheap answer, and it's a little bit of both. So hypersegmentation is good because, again, people want to belong to groups. It's why, influencers that you keep referencing in here and others are successful is partially because people want to belong to a community. So you don't want to isolate them entirely, but you do want to make, the reason people go to casinos is because I go and my money makes me feel special, like I am someone as an individual called out. So you have to find that balance in there in how you use the technology to call them out as individuals for certain things, but make them part of a group for the holistic experience of being a player.
No, I absolutely agree. I just going to echo everything that these guys have said. So.
Well, I think, in talking about this one-to-one, I mean, obviously that would require heavy lifting on the data front, which brings us to the second category, which is regulation. And regulation is famously very quick to do everything very fast and pass laws at the speed of technology, so we have nothing to worry about. But let's just say, for example, this is one instance where regulation takes a little time to catch up to technology. What exactly what's the chicken and egg scenario here when it comes to the applications for new technology? I mean, we've looked at it for different types of slots. We've looked at it for different types of advertising. But in the case of generative AI, in the case of something that has this foreboding threat to become unhinged and capable of anything, what should we be doing? And we'll start with you, Michael. What should we be doing at first in order to allow for regulators to match with what we're doing?
Yeah, the regulators will invariably be behind technology. It is a natural experience. Again, can you engage with the regulators on how this helps with the regulated gaming and responsible gaming initiatives, which they may be able to grasp onto earlier? Again, personalization to the level that the difference between an online and a land-based casino is I don't have a time on device issue of people staying on. The cost of running an additional unit online isn't the same as being on a floor where you have to maximize their journey through the base. So can I not find, by personalized data online, that this individual is maybe higher risk or has a lower tolerance, but I can extend their play by making it a different denominational level available to them than I might do to other players, and that's a responsible gaming. They still get the entertainment value, but I'm not wiping them out in 20 minutes versus 20 hours or changing their experience for play. You can do that online. AI and information gathering to make it to that personal versus even the hyper-segmented is a possible play where the regulators might gravitate, but it's still, they will be behind. It took them forever to get off from EPROMs to CD-ROMs, if anyone even remembers those on
I do.
games. Yes.
We both do, let's put it that way. We started
there,
together.
But I think it's also about education when it comes to regulation as well. Because the regulators, they usually take a lot of time because they don't understand what is going on. And I think when it comes to AI, transparency in the algorithms are super important, that they understand what is actually being catched up and why are they pushing certain things. And if we have that type of transparency, I think the regulations might be easier.
Who owns the data? Who owns the data? Who owns the data?
Who owns the data, yeah.
If you think about it, that's a question to everyone. You saw Google had Reddit API now access, some deal about it. Who owns the data? It's interesting. How is the OpenAI models built? Crawling everything. So it's also a thing of like, who owns the data? If you are a game provider or a game producer or even live studio, do you want someone to like come in and copy your games from technology? Probably not. So it's a broader topic than just the regulator versus the industry.
I think, though, for players, they have to feel that they understand, like, where's the data going? What kind of data do you have on me? What are you using it for? And, like, if we have that information out there, we can a lot faster get the regulations in there. So it is important to have that transparency.
It's like a CRM optimization thing, right? Anyways, the more data you gather on any player, the more like better bonus offers, better games you can introduce them to as well. So yeah, but I think that technology has been around for a while. You just people have, now we talk about AI. That's machine learning, right? But yeah, you just have to optimize it.
Well, you look at some of the positives that come out of it first for the regulators, right? It's not inconceivable mining all the data that the operators have, that there's the ability to be able to catch and prevent problem gambling, right? The last thing we want in our industry is someone to lose their house because they spent way too much on gambling. That's the cardinal sin, right? And it's not beyond the realm of thinking, especially in today's environment, where we could kind of get a 360-degree view of a player and just go, it's time to cool off, or things like that, right? It's harm minimization. That was a word that was started in Australia, actually, harm minimization. And I think AI is going to assist the casinos run that much of a better shop, which should give the regulators a taste of what AI can do in the positive way, right? I mean, it's okay for us to be flippant and say, well, they're slow. They're also being cautious because at the end of the day, the responsibility, whether a tech provider or an operator, is on us. We have a privileged license when we operate in the United States and Canada. So it's not that their regulations have to keep pace. It's that we have to consistently be making an argument to them as to why this can help them. You know, I think that's probably one of the goods that can come out of, you know, expanding the scope of the regulatory body and telling them, listen, we're committed to RG, responsible gaming, but now we have additional tech, and we can create tools based on that tech that can help us make the gambling experience what it's supposed to be, a more fun experience as opposed to an addictive experience. And I think that's something we have to, as an industry, kind of be focused in on. As far as regulators are concerned, I've seen my 27th year and 28th year in this business now. I've seen a considerable shift from them. They've gone from mandating what you have to do every step of the way, which is the way when we probably started out.
You started before me, just to be clear.
I did.
I was doing something else.
I'm on classic rock. He still isn't. So, you know, it's gone from what you can do to now they're going with more of a guideline-based approach and saying whatever tech helps meets our standards, that's what you will do. And actually something Mike said, moving away from EPROMs and CD-ROMs was kind of the first phase of it. Today they won't specify what media you have to use. Well, just say it has to meet our standards.
Yes.
So I think based on that, right, it kind of sets up a smart use of AI. Now, are we going to be using AI the way, you know, a games company use it outside of the gaming industry? The answer is no. But we've got to adapt the technology to fall within the interpretation or the regulations themselves.
But also,
and that's going to be key.
Also potentially use the technology to help the regulators regulate it as well.
Absolutely.
One of the best things ever done in the early days of the slot business, or mid days, I guess, when I came in, was helping the regulators find a way to validate EPROMs, which is a tool that we provided from the industry to them. AI is the best thing to check for AI content and the other type. So if we can help the regulators evolve themselves, because let's face it, they don't typically have the budgets and the wherewithal for R&D to help themselves. So it's something else that could or should be considered in evolution.
And I think that actually ushers us into that third point of responsibility pretty well, because now the question, you know, and this is sort of, once again, a chicken and egg type of scenario of where should the focus in terms of AI and in terms of new technology start with protections and then move into personalizations, or can we really approach both of these simultaneously? Does that work?
I don't think we should, you know, go, we're going to do A and then B. I think the way technology evolves, and it evolves so quickly today, you know, you've got to go at it on every front. There's no, you know, as an industry, we have our own segmentation. We're in the B2B, RGS, and game space, right? You guys are in the affiliate space, right? And things like that. We have our segments. We can use the same tech, but just kind of, you know, we can adapt it for our segments of the business that we focus in on for our customers. And then from there, our customers, who are the casino clients, are going to have further adaptations and use for their own IT and tech departments to do. So I don't think this has to be a stair-step approach. I think everyone can use the basis of the tech, which is AI, basically come up with their own solutions in the field that they're in. You know, I take responsible gaming. That's a field that that we're not in one-to-one, but I look at this hyper-segmentation. That's the field we're in because we still want to give the player the community experience. But at the same time, the communities are too wide today. The games basically are trying to fit one size fits all. And one size doesn't fit all, right? And that's, I think, what we need to get to. Not every pair of Levi's jeans is made in exactly, is either customized for you or is made in just one size, right? It's segmented, and that's the way I look at it. What size Levi's do you want? Chances are you're going to find one.
These things are going to run in parallel because AI is not something about just this industry. It is about, we're seeing it across the globe in all sorts of industries. And so our adaptation to it into our industry is not just at our own speed that we so choose. So the nice and bad thing maybe about gaming is you can't put up the walls that we used to put up in the early days of gaming to keep everybody else out. The technology is flowing in, so now it's about being able to manage technologies in the space and advance ourselves. Because the entertainment dollar, which is the almighty thing we all seek, has got lots of things it can be used for. So we can't just throw up blinders and say we're going to run on a serial path here.
I think the word is disruptive, right? It's going to be a lot of disruption going on. In terms of RG use, of course, the better models you have, the better prevention you can do as well. But then in terms of if you think about it, what LLMs have done is literally commoditizing highly skilled labor. In the past, or still, you need to go 7 years for a medical degree. You need to go 7 years school for a law degree. What we're seeing now is mind-blowing, right? That we have models that can not maybe outcompete, but be on par with that knowledge that takes 7 years for a human to accumulate, right? So, yeah, disruption is my main summary of the technology.
And so with the last couple of minutes that we do have left, I'd like to focus more on outlook. And so Catie, we'll start with you. In terms of where you see technology having an impact in terms of transformation of the industry as a whole over the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years, which I know 5 to 10 years at this point is 1,000. So let's just, I could give you 6 months, 10 years, based tomorrow. So just what do you see as sort of the next phase of the evolution of technology in the casino space?
Again, I'm going to talk from an affiliation standpoint, and I'm going to see that I think content writers will not be needed, unfortunately. It will be a lot more focus on AI, people who can use AI for SEO, social media, and stuff like that. That will change the industry in a lot of ways, I think. Just to keep it short.
Yep. I'll agree with her. I think it starts there. The places that are less regulated and going to be easier to change, so content, SEO, affiliation, getting into some of the personalization players. So it will evolve further and further into the places that are more regulatory managed, because those do take time to evaluate and ensure they are safe. So there's many areas it will touch prior to that.
Sure.
I mean, the tech's here already, right? In 5 to 10 years, we don't know what's going to be next. This, no one out here can be sure that AI is going to be around in 5 to 10 years.
Flying cars.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll be in our flying cars, and we won't have a thing to worry about. But I think what we can do is say, this is what we have, and here's our roadmap of what we're going to do with it. And there's going to be updates and upgrades to the tech, and there's probably going to be something new that comes along after that. And we just have to be flexible enough to maintain our roadmap. And I think, I think that's one thing that's been said over here. No one's looking, we're looking at the same problems. We're looking at the same revenue increases or keeping players safe. We're just finding technologies to adapt to that. And that's still the name of the game. We still have to give the players the best experience they have, no matter where they're gambling. And I think AI is an enabler of that.
This is the next thing. Same as these machines that we have in our pockets, right?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Now you go to the couch at home and your mom and your dad and your grandma is all on the smartphones, right? This is going to be the next thing, whether we like it or not. For the operators in the audience, we are going to be able to optimize your campaign heavily in the coming years. That's just a given. For the workspace, not only in our industry, of any industry out there, the office space is going to look dramatically different, as Catie mentioned, with different areas of operations that is going to be made obsolete, essentially, by this new technology. And it's going to happen quicker than we expect, basically. If smartphones maybe took 5-10 years of adoption, it's going to be 3 to 5 years. So it's going to happen in an exponential pace, it's my opinion.
Right, I think it's also worth noting, just in that case, that there's also the potential for new market and economic creation with AI. So it's not like we're just going to wipe away.
So what you do is you have creative tasks that is usually of more high value, right?
Sure.
And that's just gonna end up in the P&L somewhere on the bottom line to make a better profit margin.
Well, Catie, gentlemen, thank you all very much. Please join me in thanking our great panelists here today.